What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Tuffy Talk. And in this episode, we're going double dancing. All right. So we already did a episode for the men's team dancing. Now we're gonna go a little women dancing. So I guess you can call that a two-step, right? For those that enjoy dancing, your Lady Wolfpack get a 7 seed. So it's a little out of the norm what we're used to, right? We're used to some of those 1, 2, or 3 seeds here in the last few years, but we got a 7 seed. We got shuffled out to Utah. Now I'm kind of like, I'm not mad at the seeding. Our first round game will be against Princeton. So we got an Ivy League team that we'll be playing against, and a Princeton team that, I believe 23-5. Am I looking at that correctly here? 23-5. Their 5 losses. They lost to Texas. They got blown out by them. They played UConn close. They only lost by like 3 or 4 points to them. They lost 2 conference games. So, I think it's going to be a great opponent. It's an opponent that, look, just based off seeding alone, State should handle them. And then if we survive advance on that one, obviously the men invented that in 1983, but the women can use that as well, I feel. And if we survive in advance, we play Utah on their home court as they are the 2 seed. Now, remember, with women's basketball, your top 4 seeds in each bracket or each region get home games, and then they pod out. Now, before they used to do it differently, but now they only do 2 sites. They do Greenville 1, Greenville 2, Seattle 1, Seattle 2. So they're not like the men's regions where there's 4 different locations. And the reason they did that was just kind of taxing on the travel and just to drum up better ticket sales with some of that reasoning. Right. They want to make sure they maximize their locations and get the most ticket sales that they possibly can, which makes sense for the women's side of the game. Yeah. But Michael, as we just got this bracket, I mean, it's pretty warm still. They just finished releasing it about 40 minutes ago. So we're recording this on March 12th. So haven't had a lot of time to digest it. But any first thoughts on anything that you're seeing there, either from NC State or the ACC or anything as a whole?
ACC as a whole, obviously, is really strong. Virginia Tech, the conference champions, got a 1 seed.
Got a 1 seed.
Great
Congrats.
for them.
Yeah.
You've got Notre Dame as a 3 seed. Honestly, I thought they might get a 2 seed.
Some of that might be dealing with Miles.
That probably hurts.
Not that the committee always says they do take injury into consideration, but usually it's for the positive, not the negative. And I almost feel like it's the negative here because for the most part, they were, and if you look at the way, because again, like we talked on the men's episode, they go straight down. So if you're number 7 in the country, that does seed to a 3 line. So that kind of makes sense, I guess. Right. But yeah, please continue.
Yeah, I obviously ACC was really good this year. I mean, where did the women finish? They finished 8th or 9th.
Yeah, the women are at State. Yeah, they finished 8th in the conference,
and they're a 7 seed in the tournament. So that just goes to show how
if you finish 8th in the men's side, you don't make the tournament.
Not even close. Yeah.
Right, because State was the 6th seed. And they were and they got in ahead of Pitt. So, but we digress. If you want any more, go check out that episode.
Yeah, but the NC State matchup specifically, I think it's a winnable matchup for sure.
For sure.
Obviously, the status of Diamond will play a factor here. Not only for the matchup against Princeton, but especially against Utah in that second round. If we were to win, we would definitely need her there against a really tough opponent on their home court. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, like we just mentioned, like you will have to play them on their home court, and so they'll have the home noise. And again, we kind of talked about the men in the men's episode. The women are going to be out west the whole tournament. If they obviously they start in Utah, and if they do advance to the Sweet 16, they're slated into Seattle 3. So they'll be out on the West Coast.
Greenville, I believe.
Oh wait, what? Okay, well the one you gave me says Seattle 3.
Oh,
but their Twitter said Greenville, so you're right.
I think it is.
Are you looking at the complete bracket? It does say Seattle 3.
Oh,
but
that's interesting.
So I don't know who got it right, the NCAA or NC State women's basketball.
Well,
so
they'll be in one of those locations.
They'll be in one of those. It's either Greenville or Seattle. But because you're right, because I looked at the Twitter thing that said we're dancing, and it said Greenville. So, but this one's, I mean, you're reading it too, right? You see Seattle 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I am not really sure then what the women are doing, but
they gotta get there.
So they're either playing. Yeah, you got to get there first, right? So, but yeah. So we're gonna end up playing. If we win again, we'll play the Pac-12. Probably the champion. I mean, if they're probably a 2 seed, they're probably a Pac-12. Oh no, Stanford a 1 seed.
Yeah,
Stanford's usually a 1 seed. Yeah. So the number 2 team probably in the Pac-12 is who we're going to end up matching up against. So I would be curious that there are 4 losses. I would probably guess 2 of them are going to be against Stanford because I think Stanford only lost like 1 game all year. Let me just see if we can pull it up. If you want to pull it up while I talk a little bit more about the ACC, we were talking about how good the ACC was this year. You had Florida State got in with a 7 seed, and Miami got in as a 9 seed, and then Duke, I don't think we mentioned them, they got a 3 seed, and then that school down the road is a 6 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the interesting thing is they are a 6 seed in our same bracket, again, if what we're looking at is correct. So they are the 6th seed, and then we are... No, wait, I see where we're at. We are in the Greenville 2 bracket.
Okay.
Up there, up top is 7. My apologies. I was reading North Carolina, not North Carolina State, and that is a cardinal sin.
Oh, what are you, an ESPN announcer?
Yeah. Anyway, so yes, it definitely is Greenville 2 that we will be playing in. So we go out west to start off with. By the way, that game is on March 17th, the same day as the men's game. So we might be double celebrating. We might be double drinking for our sorrows away. Or we might go 1-1.
Yeah.
So we don't know. So Saturday or Friday is going to be an interesting day to be a
St.
Wolfpack
Patrick's
fan,
Day,
to say
too.
the least. And St. Patrick's Day. So yeah. But we don't have a game time yet as of this recording.
Yep.
The men's released their times about an hour or so after announcing the bracket. So I'm assuming either sometime tonight or first thing tomorrow, they'll announce those game times. But they are both playing on Friday. So my apologies for that. Did you pull up who Utah lost? Because they are 25-4.
Yeah. So Utah. Well, let's look at Princeton first, since that is our first opponent.
Sure. Well, we did kind of talk about they lost to Texas. They did get blown out by them by like 20 points.
Yep. And then they only lost twice in conference. Yeah. Right.
They lost to Columbia, and they lost to Harvard, I believe, which is probably a cardinal sin for them to lose to their rival. And then, but that Columbia game was in overtime, and it was close. And then they lost to UConn. I think it was 69-64. So a little bit closer than. So I think that's really the only common opponent we have. Just looking through their schedule, was the UConn team or game. So
looking at Utah, undefeated in their non-conference. 4 losses are at Colorado, at Stanford, at Arizona. They actually won their home game against Stanford right at the end of the year.
Okay.
And then lost to Washington State in looks like the opening round of the Pac-12 tournament.
Who we beat last year.
Yeah.
In the NCAA
so that was a little
tournament.
bit of an upset there in the Pac-12.
Yeah, for sure. And that might be... they still got a 2 seed, though, so that obviously didn't hurt them too much.
Yep.
I don't think they were going to be vying for a number 1 seed unless they had beat Stanford again. That would probably... but Washington State is a 5 seed in the tournament, so they're not a slouch. I do not see... There's quick glancing. I don't see Arizona on here. And I don't
They were ranked when they played
Arizona's
them.
number 7 seed.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the upset.
Arizona's a 7 seed, and Colorado's a 6 seed. So all of their losses are to tournament teams.
Yep.
So that's not a that's
deserving 2 seed.
At. Yeah, for sure. So I'm guessing they probably had a high strength of schedule, high net, probably a lot of quad 1, quad 2s. So I think that's a very formidable opponent. But let's also not like discount State here. Again, assuming we get to that game.
Yep.
State had one of the toughest schedules in all of the country. I think they were I want to say they were 15th.
Sounds right.
I want to say at some point it was like 15, 16 strength of schedule.
Yeah.
And then I think we had like 8 or 9 quad 1 wins.
Yeah.
Out of the whole season.
Yeah. I mean, you had 2 top 10 wins. I know, looking at the rankings, Iowa and Notre Dame.
Iowa and Notre Dame. Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, it's almost...
and we beat Carolina, which is another tournament team. We beat Miami. That's a tournament team. We beat Duke. No, we lost to Duke both games.
Yeah.
We split with Notre Dame.
The issue with the women's team, it's not like the men's where we said they're kind of up and down.
Right.
But there's obviously had some bad injury luck. Losing Jada Boyd, losing Diamond Johnson for a time.
And we had River Baldwin was out for a game or two with her knee. But the one thing if we've kind of said if we can come out and shoot the ball, we will be in business. And that's the one thing that we haven't been consistent on this year is the shooting from the outside. And then just playing with heart, and this is the time of year, and we didn't really talk about it on the men's episode, but I mean, this is it. Like, there is no tomorrow if you don't win. So you have to give everything you have and leave it on the court for that 40 minutes, or you're done. I mean, and some of these girls and guys, that's the end of their college career. Like, they are never putting on a uniform again. So if that's not enough motivation for you, I mean, you're just in the wrong business, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're only guaranteed that one game. And I think, it's hard to say without being, inside the locker room and stuff, but it does seem like at times there hasn't been that motivation there for the girls.
Little disjointing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think it's that they don't get along. And I think the one thing that we've kind of said, and if you follow us at Tuffy Talk, and we try to keep it real, but keep a positive spin on everything, is we've lacked that leadership, and this is the time of year where you need that leadership to someone say, you know what, get on my back. We're not going to lose this game. We're going to find a way.
Yep.
And that's kind of the one thing that's been lacking. It feels like at times. We've got really good players. I mean, they're
as much talent as there ever has been.
Yeah, but it's just that mindset. It's that killer instinct, if you will, where I'm not going to let you lose this game. Like, trust me. Like, get on my back, and I will carry you to the promised land.
Yeah, and that's not. Look, in hindsight, I don't think it's that surprising. Looking at what we lost from the last 2 or 3 years,
for sure.
You just kind of assumed, the Jada Boys and the Jakia Brown Turners would step up into that role.
Camille Hobbies.
Camille Hobby. But sometimes it's not always that easy.
Right.
So.
Some people are just very good at what they do, and then some people are just natural leaders, and there's nothing wrong with not being a leader. You can go out and do your job and do it really well.
Yeah.
But in order to be a very fluid cog, you need somebody that's going to be like, hey, when the times are good, I'm here with you. And the times are bad, you can trust me. I will get you out of it. And I just don't, at least I'm sure there are leaders. They're just not maybe the vocal leaders that we're so used to seeing with like the Cunanes and the Reina Perez's and the Kai Crutchfields. Like, you could see the fire, and I don't always see that fire with this team. And again, that's not to say that they're not passionate for what they're doing. It's just we as fans only can see what we see out in the public light. Like, we're not there at practices. We're not there in the locker room. We're not. So all the chance that we get to see that is in games, or in interviews. And we just don't see that with this squad. I don't know. Again, postseason, maybe that's what brings it out in this team, and they go on a run because they can beat some of the best teams. Now, do I think this is a national championship team? Look, it's South Carolina and everybody else. They we can compete. And if you catch a team, you can beat them. But honestly, did South Carolina lose any games last year? Because if not, I think they might be like 2 years in a row without losing a game. Like, I'm trying to think if South Carolina lost a game. Like,
but certainly 32-0 this year.
Yeah, for sure. And then the games that they played, like high level matchups, they destroyed their opponent. Like it kind of reminds me of that UNLV team back in the 90s, man. Like they just any team you put in front of them, they were just going to annihilate. It just didn't matter.
They've completely dominated the sport the last couple of years.
Yeah. But just looking at the bracket, I see this team again. We've talked about it on our episodes. This is a team that can make a Sweet 16 run, maybe even in the Elite 8. It's also a team that could lose in the first round.
Yeah.
And that's the first time we've really ever said that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you kind of agree with that? Or do you think, no, we'll get past at least the first round, and then at that point we're playing with house money?
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
I think if Diamond plays, I think we get past the first round. But without her, it becomes a lot trickier.
It does. And we don't even know. Like, obviously, Coach Moore said that his goal was to get her right for the tournament. Now, the nice thing is we play on Friday, so that's an extra day, right? So,
that's true.
Not that I think she's one day off. Like, I don't know if Thursday versus Friday matters, but there is something. Now, the one thing I will say, too, is Salt Lake City's got some elevation, and we didn't even talk about that on the men's game or on the men's side either.
Yeah.
Playing that elevation is going to be interesting. So I'm curious to see if they travel out even like a day earlier just to kind of get acclimated to that.
I think that would be smart.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Like, I don't know. I'm sure there's some kind of NCAA rules that say you can travel in early and whatever, but that is something to keep an eye on as we go through this tournament. And then we'll make sure that we definitely talk about that on the live stream, because that was something that just kind of came across my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is the, I guess I'll ask you this way. What is the floor and what is the ceiling for this team now that we have a bracket in front of us?
Yeah. I mean, I think floor is absolutely losing in the first round. Getting past Utah, that will especially be tough in the second round. And then potentially you got,
Sweet 16 matchup. You're looking at
LSU would be the 3 seed. LSU's tough. I don't know. I'd probably say Sweet 16 is as the ceiling.
I think so with this team. Yeah. Not to say that I mean,
that's probably where it is on the men's side too, as well. So
I feel like you're correct in that assessment on both sides of the house,
which is good. I mean, Sweet 16, especially for
respectable,
especially for the men's. But I think, looking back on it at the beginning of the year, if you said Sweet 16 for the women, that would be disappointing. With the way the season's gone and it's going, and you said they at least made it to the Sweet 16, I think that would be put a good ending to a rough season there.
Yeah. My counter to that would be, we didn't know what we had in all these transfers that we had coming in, right? Like how they were going to mesh. Now, obviously, they were very well regarded, but then you had to see what other folks were going to do, stepping up into bigger roles.
Yeah.
So I would say there was a lot more. Again, we don't want to cross-pollinate episodes, but I would say that the women had more questions than the men. As weird as that sounds, because the men were so bad last year, you only thought they were going to go up.
That's fair.
So
that's fair.
And again, but that's the way college sports is going to be every year now. There's going to be so many unknowns, so many moving parts, guys and girls coming in and out of programs, and you got transfer classes, you got freshmen. Like, how are they going to be brought in, and what kind of roles are these teams going to be?
Right.
So like college, like it's just different now. So
every year it's, you can't really look at it. You used to be able to look at it, 3 to 4 year windows, and now it's every year is different.
Yeah, and that was only 3-4 years ago that was like that.
Right.
It's the game has just changed with the NIL and the transfer portal rules. So just, I guess what I'm trying to say is enjoy your teams every year for what you have, because you don't know what it's going to look like next year.
Yep.
Now you have ideas, but until you start getting out and playing the games, it's like, oh, this is not what I thought we were going to be like, or
in a good way or a bad way.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So, so I guess we'll wrap it this way. I also think that our ceiling is the Sweet 16, unfortunately. And again, it's not that we don't want our teams to go further. We try to say this, that we are NC State 5 fans that are very loyal and passionate about our teams, but we also try to be realists. Other than Kenzie, we love you, girl. Like, Kenzie's natties all the way. And I
think
love
she
her
believes
for
it though. So
yeah. Oh, she totally believes that. Yeah. No, that's not some kind of crazy talk like that. She wholeheartedly believes that in her heart, and every fan base needs that, right?
Absolutely.
But every fan base needs the realist too. So, I will be cheering on these women so hard. I traveled with them last year. I went to Raleigh, did those games. I went to Connecticut and did those games, and it was some of the most fun I've ever had as an NC State fan. So, if you ever have a chance to go, like, to see the women play, especially in the tournament's just a different beast. And I'll kind of talk about it this way. You meet so many passionate fans, like State, and every fan base has passionate fans, but the folks that go travel to these sites, to these tournaments, it's a different kind of breed of fan. We've
absolutely.
met wonderful people over the years traveling to Omaha and Connecticut and Louisville, and just some of the places where I've gone on tournaments and stuff like that. So if you ever have the opportunity, go do it. You won't regret it. Pittsburgh was another one I was trying to think of, not Louisville, but Pittsburgh, when we had our run a couple years ago. These are stories that I have and that I will share with my grandkids and friends. It's the best time. And so if you have that ability, go do it, is what I'm trying to get at. So
so we did it on the men's side.
I was going to say, you want to do a Final Four?
Yeah. You go.
I'll let you go first. You want me to go first? Okay. All right. So let's looking at this. South Carolina out of the Greenville 1 bracket. That's what you say, Greenville 1 bracket.
Yeah, I know.
2. I'm sorry. We'll go Greenville 2. We'll go left to right on the bracket. Indiana's the 1 on there. I like LSU. Actually, who's the 2 seed in that side?
Utah.
Oh, right. Utah.
So
that's our bracket.
Yeah.
I think Louisville. I think LSU, which is actually, speaking of Louisville, they did not make the tournament from what I'm looking at.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. That is.
Yeah. I don't think they did.
No, they did. They did. They were 5 seed.
They're a 5 seed.
5
that's
seed
kind of high for them.
I was gonna say, I was like, I know they didn't have a great year, but they were better.
But it was interesting. They really weren't in the top 25 at all, and they got a 5 seed. So you would think they're
5
the top
seed over there on Duke's side of the bracket.
Okay, so you got a 5 and a 3 on that side then.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to Greenville 2. I think that's going to be LSU. I just think that the competition level they play is much better than Utah. I hate to give the SEC bias here, but it's true. Like, the SEC plays, especially women's basketball. They play really good women's basketball. Seattle 3. Let's see, who's the 2 seed? UConn. There's no way I'm taking UConn. Virginia Tech. Like, I love Elizabeth Keatley. I think she's a great player. And like I said earlier, I think before we recorded this, I like Kenny Brooks. Heart over heart. Who's the 3 in that one?
Ohio State.
Ooh, they're a good team. They're a really good team. You know what? Let me take Virginia Tech. I want to give some love to the ACC. I think Ohio State could make some noise in that bracket, though. Yeah. I don't think UConn is the same UConn team that they've been in the past years. Obviously, they have Becker. She's injured, and Fudd has been injured. I think she's back, but I don't think that's as a good UConn team as they typically are. So I do like anyone. If you had to give me UConn or the field, I'd definitely take the field in that bracket.
Okay.
But I'll stick with Virginia Tech. And then good on East Carolina. They made the tournament there, 13. I know. Stanford, who's the 2? Iowa. Man, if our girl is shooting the lights out, Caitlin, what is it?
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark, thank you. If she's shooting the lights out, that's a good program. But
yeah, we beat them.
6 losses.
She scored 40-something points, and we still beat them.
For sure, right? So, and here's the thing about the women's game. The top 1, 2
it's
seeds
much
realistically.
top, yeah, much more top.
Correct. So, like, picking chalk on the women's side isn't as a big of a leap as it is picking it on the men's side.
Right.
But, like, I think you get maybe a third of the upsets that you do on the men's side. There's usually not a lot of upsets. But I'll take Stanford. I think they're a real. Look at the number 1 and 2 seeds each have 5+ losses. Yeah, like that's a good number. That's a good amount. But I think Stanford, and then I think South Carolina, and I think South Carolina cuts down the nets again. It's kind of boring to say it, but I think that's what it's going to be. But what are your thoughts?
I got
there?
South Carolina, obviously. Greenville 1, Greenville 2. Our bracket. I'll go LSU as well. I do like them. Their coach is a little crazy, but she's a good coach. Yeah,
but she's a good coach. She came from Baylor, and she knows how to coach. Yeah, I agree.
Seattle 3. You went Virginia Tech. I'm gonna go UConn. It's all right. I don't know. It's hard to pick against them.
It is, but the nice thing is that that's in Seattle and not in Hartford or Stores or Bridgeport where we were at last year. Yeah, so they won't have that home court cooking like they did against us. But go ahead, Seattle 4. Who do you got?
And then I'll go Stanford as well. And then kind of same thing with you. Probably South Carolina. If it was South Carolina over UConn again, I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where if you gave me the field or South Carolina, I'm still taking South Carolina.
Yeah,
it's not even close.
Right.
It's just not.
It's crazy.
Dawn Staley has built an empire down there, and it's impressive what she's done. Yep. And you can hate on it all you want, but she's getting it done.
32-0.
Yeah, but I will say that in the last 4 or 5 years, the landscape of women's basketball has gotten much better. It used to be 1 or 2 programs, and now you have maybe a handful of programs. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's progress, I will say. So, but that'll wrap this episode up. But just to recap real quick, State will open up the tournament in Salt Lake City against Princeton. We are coming in as the 7th seed, and we would play in the 10th seed. That game is also on Friday. It'll be on the ESPN network of platforms, so probably ESPN, the Dose, or it'll be on. It'll get buried, but so it'll probably be a streaming thing. So just be prepared for that for viewership. It's not like the men's tournament where they have 40 different channels, but it'll probably be streaming. But and again, we don't have a game time. With it being Salt Lake City, I'm guessing evening. Sometime after 5 or 6 o'clock. I'm hoping it's after the men's game.
Yeah,
and then if we survive in advance,
at the same time.
Oh my gosh, it would make life miserable to say the least. But no, I think that's probably going to be like a 6 or 7 o'clock game. So I'm hoping one will end and the other will kick off. But and if we survive in advance, we'll play Utah on Sunday, right? Because we play Friday and Sunday on that side of the bracket. So. All right, Wolfpack Nation, that'll do it. Again, as always, if you you need to be following us on Twitter. We'll be having lots more information breaking out as the week comes out. We'll be dropping some stats. Follow Michael. He's always dropping some stats out there. I enjoy his numbers game. He's got a lot more time and patience with it than I do. Yep. But if you're not following us on Twitter, make sure you do at Tuffy Talk Now. Again, make sure you follow us on YouTube or any of the podcasts where you get your podcast at. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on that bell for all those great notifications, especially when we go live. And who knows, we might be doing a watch party for this. We if there's enough interest, we might just do a watch party. So, but anyway, stay tuned for all that. Again, you can get all that information on our Twitter page. And as always, Wolfpack Nation, you already know. Let's go Pack. NCAA dancing style. We'll see you soon.